It's the U.S. government that I think is corrupt, and it's the Chinese government that are corrupt.
They want us to think we're all divided. They want you to not like gay people. They want you to not like other.
We don't have the best people qualified for the job in D.C.
The real problem is the controllers. That's who's causing the divide.
But I've joined the Marine Corps, and nobody could get in there without a top secret clearance. What I didn't know was that some of the guys that were there witnessing these tests were from some certain agency. Turns out they wanted to load the payload with C4. In the next 5 years, I predict that 25 to 50% of all pistols that are sold will come with.
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs today in the studio. Folks, as always, I got a real treat for you. Buck Hawley's in the house. What's happening, Buck?
Not much. How are you?
Dude, if I was any better, I'd be you. If you guys don't know who this dude is a world champion shooter, dangerous game hunter, Marine Corps veteran. Shit, I got to get my readers on for this list. Inventor and founder of the Cavalier Attitude family of companies, a multi-million-dollar empire built on grit, faith, and purpose. Basically, after serving 9 years in the U.S. Marine Corps and 12 years as a defense contractor, Buck launched out on his own to build what he proudly calls his band of misfits empire, focused on manufacturing, technology, and consumables. Your mission goes far beyond profit. With 4 patents and counting, his innovative products serve military, law enforcement, competitive shooters, and everyday consumers. But at the heart of it all is a deeper purpose, becoming a billionaire, not for status, but to impact millions of lives through leadership, loyalty, and second chances. Today, my man leads companies like C&H Precision, BullyWerx, AIM, Grounds and Rounds, and Ruck Pack, all designed to challenge the norm, inspire growth, and deliver serious results. Guided by faith, family, and his battle-tested ethos, do hard shit. Buck is on a mission to transform lives one hire and one product at a time, my friends. Do hard shit. You realize that is technically the reason people succeed and the reason they don't.
I've lived it all my life, and that's why I'm so proud to carry that ethos forward to teach younger generations that you don't become a real man, a man of God, a man of purpose without confronting hard shit in your life. That do hard shit, whether it's running a marathon or being present for your family with all of the constraints on people's lives today. Cold plunge, there's so many ways that you can challenge yourself. Even if you're not an entrepreneur or a business owner, you can challenge yourself to be a bigger, better influence and teach your kids. That's really what it's about, teaching your kids to do hard shit and not be afraid to do hard shit. I've got a 13-year-old who would blow your mind. This little girl is wise beyond her ages. She's hunted in Africa. She's hunted all over the U.S. She works at the coffee shop. She's not afraid to do hard shit. I mean, we're training her to be a leader in the next generation. And then you look around and you compare her to a lot of other 13-year-old little boys and little girls who don't know how to drive a stick, have never really harvested anything, have never butchered anything, don't cook, don't clean. All they're concerned about is going to school, playing travel sports, and what's on their Instagram or their Snapchat feed. That's it. That's not hard shit. So if you want to be a real survivor and you want to make a difference in the world, you have to do hard shit.
Yeah, it's the difference between winners and losers, if you ask me. A lot of people, once shit gets hard, they shut it down. They quit, they go another direction, and they seek comfort. And it's like, listen, I understand, I like comfort, but the way you get permanent comfort and succeed in life is to do hard shit. Because the hard shit's what builds you. That's what I think. Like there's a book out there called Obstacle is the Way. Because I wrote The Hard Way, lessons I learned the hard way so you don't have to. And I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. But someone said, when are you going to come out with another book? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I will, but if I do, maybe I'll call it Hard is the Way. Because hard is the way. Do hard shit. That's freaking what most people fail for. Because they won't, and they haven't, and they don't, and they avoid it. And then there's a lot of people that do it, and that's why they fucking win. because they do hard shit, and hard shit freaking strengthens you and turns you into a badass. Most people pray for, wealth and abundance, but then they curse the hard shit. And that's how you get it. You get it by doing the hard shit. You've done a lot of hard shit in your life. What was the hardest thing you've done? Define hard. Racing Porsches is not hard.
No, racing Porsches is not hard. That gets more into the comfort zone. I would say the hardest thing that I ever did was leaving a very high profile, high paying job in the DC Beltway as a defense contractor and moving home to be more present and build a business. I had a goal. I want to make $80,000 and I want to be home every single night to raise my last of my 3 kids because the other 2 were a little bit more grown up. And I wanted to be home for all of those moments. And then figuring that I could just start a business and away we go and we could make $80,000. Well, it didn't work that day. I did start a business and I did work my butt off and I was home and present more, not as much as I probably should have been because I was building a business. And those lessons and that hard stuff that I did then really taught me a lot of lessons. You were talking about doing hard shit. You don't learn a whole lot from winning. I mean, you have to work really hard to get to the winner, but you learn so many more lessons doing hard stuff and failing. And I just yesterday finished my book and it's going to go out for proofreading and it has every chapter in there for every part of my life of all my hardships and how I overcame them and the lessons that I learned from them and why it made me a better entrepreneur today. So
what's it called?
It's going to be called Experience is Expensive, the Trench Warfare MBA. And like I said, it's 34 chapters. It's got a chapter on everything from hiring to quality to picking the right partners, everything that you and I have probably done in our past and wish, my goal on that book is I want to create something that I can pass on to help prevent other people from making the same mistakes that you did and I did. If I can encourage them to do hard stuff, but learn from my lessons so that they can preserve more of their income, that would be fantastic to me.
Yeah, well, it will, because experience is expensive. So anybody that buys your book and applies any of it saved a ton of time, brain damage, and income.
A tremendous amount. I'll give you one quick story. So I used to buy, as we were growing, I used to buy machines that I needed to buy a machine that would do my capability gap today. Well, I need to do X. Let's buy a machine that'll do X. Well, guess what happens? 9 months, 12 months down the road, as you continue to grow, that machine becomes a little bit outdated. It doesn't do what it needs to do for me 9 months from now. And we bought probably 10 machines before we finally figured out, don't buy the machine that you need today. Buy the machine that you need a year from now that you can grow into. Otherwise, you're going to end up with 2 machines that have slightly less capability. And same with hiring. You got to hire the right people. You don't hire the CPA that you need today or the engineer that you need today. You hire the CPA that you're going to need in a year from now if you continue your trajectory. The same with engineering, the same with scaling production and quality. We made so many mistakes along the way, hiring the wrong people. We hired the person that we needed today, and then we outgrew them. And then what do you do with them? You keep them in their job until then you got to hire another person to pick up the slack. But now that person's not fully employed. So if we would have hired the really expensive person a year ago, we wouldn't have this problem today. So it's just one of the many chapters in the book of how we got here, the lessons that we learned. And I really hope that somebody takes at least a little bit of that to heart.
Well, let's go back to how you got here. Okay. You obviously were in the Marine Corps. And then you were a defense contractor. I thought defense contractors made like zillions.
Well, the corporations probably do. The big defense industry contractors do. People that work in the trenches don't. And the way that I got there, the Marine Corps was not, I'll be honest. I didn't join the Marine Corps because I had this patriotic pulling of the heartstrings. You got to go defend your country. I joined in 1990. when we were coming out of, I believe, one of the Bushes into the Clinton era, where we didn't do a whole lot of war fighting during that period of time. So my 9 years were kind of boring, but I joined the Marine Corps because I had no other alternatives. I was living and working on a little farm in Minnesota, and my options were go to college, but I didn't have any money. I didn't take any SATs or ACTs. And so college is out. I could stay on the farm. And the guy that I worked for, his name was Harlan. And he looked across the farmyard to this guy that I worked with. He was about 10 years older, and his name was John. We called him Thud. And I have no idea why. And he goes, you could stay here and work for me for the rest of your life, but do you want to end up like Thud, driving a beat up old pickup truck with a used snowmobile and a really bad dental plan? And no insurance. I was like, ooh, that doesn't sound like a good option. Harlan was a veterinarian. He was kind of the wealthy guy in town, farmer. And he says, well, what are your other options? And I said, well, I guess I could join the Marine Corps. And he goes, that sounds like a really good plan. You know, this environment that you grow up here, you're not living with your parents, you're a horrible student. This environment's not good for you. You need to leave. Join the Marine Corps. So that's the reason that I joined the Marine Corps, was a new start with direction. Or I knew I was going to get discipline, and I knew I was going to get to travel the world. And it still took a couple years. And then when you know, I graduated high school, not because I had the grades or all the scores, etc. I think that they walked me across the stage to get me out of the school. So I didn't come back next year. And 3 or 4 years later, when I started to get my shit together, then I started going to college. And in 4 years, I graduated with a 4.0 average. So how does a kid that graduates high school with like a 1 point something grade point average, then 3 or 4 years later pulls his head out of his theoretical behind and ends up graduating magna cum laude or whatever with a 4.0 average? I mean, that the Marine Corps did do something for me. That was a great foundation. And then it just snowballed from there.
What was your ASVAB?
It was good enough to get into the intel services. So I have no idea what it was, but I actually started down an aviation tract, and I went through all these different schools, and I get to the fleet and at Cherry Point, North Carolina. And they're like, hey, let's go down to I was there for a month or two, didn't know where anything was. They're like, let's go down the runway. We're going to watch the last A6 intruder leave. I'm like, the A6 intruder, that's what I'm here to work on. Well, the last one's about to leave. So I was given the opportunity at that point, since my MOS disappeared. You can do air crew on C-130s. You can go into intel, or you can do a couple of these other jobs. And man, if there's anything in the world that I'm not super good at, it's swimming. I mean, I can swim to save my life, but swimming with all that stuff on, I heard the horror stories and I had anxiety. I'm like, I'd love to do air crew. It sounds like a lot of fun, but I'm not going to pass the qual test. I said, this intel thing sounds really fun and really cool. And it was. So I went back to school, and that's what I finished out my career, was an intel analyst in the Marine Corps.
What do they do?
So they work in a little a room about like this with no windows and a secure vault door, and you read all day long intelligence reports that are coming across the wire or the line. And back then it was kind of an old system of email-ish, and you read all these, you digested them, and then you paraphrase them to brief your commander. This is where the hot spots are. Here's what people are doing. And then sometimes you'd get flowed back a message that said, hey, we're thinking that this is a hot spot. Do a bunch of research, find out what their air defenses look like, find out what kind of vehicles they use, a topography of the region, and then create a brief on it, and then brief the commanders. And that was a lot of reading, a lot of research. And I really, really enjoyed the reading and the writing part of that. And you were locked in a skiff, so nobody could find you because the doors closed and nobody could get in there without a top secret clearance.
What'd that teach you in the business world? Anything?
I don't know that taught, well, the intelligence, being in the intel industry does teach you how to research and try and think what adversaries might do or what they could do. So I think it really just taught me how to research and read and write better than what I could at the time. Fast forward, I'm not sure what I put to work in that, except I worked for some really great people that taught me some life lessons. This at the time, his name was Captain Chris Fothery. And he kind of took me under his wing when I needed to be taken under his wing and guided, talked to me like a real human. And because we were in the vault and we could talk openly, if you're in the Brig Marine Corps, captains don't talk to E4s or E5s unless they're given orders. But this guy really took a liking to me and everybody under his command. And he not only worked with us, but he mentored us to be better Marines. So that was one of I just learned how to treat people and how to talk to people and how to mentor people from guys like him.
So was that hard shit?
I would say there wasn't a whole lot of hard shit to do in the Marine Corps except take orders.
How was boot camp?
Boot camp was a breeze. My dad was a Marine. I think he mentally prepared me for what I was going to walk into when I went there.
What'd you shoot?
In boot camp, I shot the sharpshooter. I missed it by a point. And then for the rest of my career, I qualified expert with a rifle and expert with a pistol every year thereafter. But I was really disappointed that first year because I thought I was a good shooter, and things didn't go my way that day.
Did you go to San Diego or Camp Lejeune?
San Diego. I just finished writing this chapter. Everybody talks about the yellow footprints when you get off the bus at Parris Island or San Diego. I don't really remember the yellow footprints. I just remember the smells of San Diego, having never been there. You live here in the desert, and there's just something about that swirling mixture of salt water, the vegetation, whatever the vegetation is there, and dust, and then jet fuel, because the recruit depot was right next to the airport. So those smells permeated my senses. It was the first time I smelled them. I remember that more than anything else, the yelling or the yellow footprints or the new gears type stuff.
Did you remember your drill instructors' names?
One of them was Sergeant Baker, and the other three I don't really remember. If I looked at an old picture, I'd probably remember them. I can remember their faces, but. Did
you graduate honor guide?
No, I just graduated middle of the pack. In fact, my dad told me, he goes, you don't want to, there's two guys that you don't want to be in boot camp, according to him. You don't want to be the underperformer, and you don't want to be the squad leader or the guide, because they're being tasked. They're going to get punished for every dumb thing that everybody else does. He said, you just stick right to the middle and be where you're supposed to be and graduate in the middle, and you'll do just fine. Otherwise, you're going to get to do a lot of push-ups. So I kind of what's that?
Fact.
Yeah, a lot of push-ups.
Yeah, I was trying to make honor guide because I wanted to graduate in my dress blues. And frickin', you did get punished for everything that anybody else did. And they almost do that on purpose. I guess it's to teach responsibility. And not only that, they'd change them out frequently. So you'd lose the position anyway. Yeah. So usually the honor guide got picked towards the end.
Interesting story about boot camp. Having been born and raised in Alaska and then moving to Minnesota, the first time that I ever had a conversation or shook hands with a black guy was at boot camp. And it was.
Where'd you come from? A small town?
Yeah. Everybody was crispy white, European descent, Norwegian, Scandinavian, and German. And I had never once talked to a black guy. In fact, one of my grandfathers was, I admit he's gone, bless his soul. But, if you had to say that somebody was a racist, this guy was a racist. He just flat out hated black people just because they were black. And because of that, I carried that with me. I was scared of him. I didn't want to talk to him. Well, then I get bunked with Private Baker, and Private Baker was like Bakersfield, California. And I was like, this guy's going to murder me in the middle of the night. It turns out by the end of boot camp, we're best friends. And I'm like, all this hocus pocus that my grandfather was telling me, it's all BS. We sweated with them. We cried with them. We laughed together, and we're just regular people. So that was that was one of the major turning points in my life. Later on in life, I was, then I was like homophobic for many years because you're in the military and everybody that's gay is like taboo. Well, then I was working with a guy who was in the Coast Guard. This is when I was a defense contractor, and he was an enlisted guy in the Coast Guard that I liaison with once in a while. And I knew this guy for like 2 years, but it was weird. We always go bar hopping out in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and he was always talking to dudes. And I'm chasing girls. And one day I was like, is there something wrong with you? And he goes, you don't know? Are you that dumb, that blind? He goes, I'm gay. I'm like, from that day forward, I then had no issues with gay people after that. I was like, he's just a regular guy just like me. He's never tried to hit on me, never tried to roofie me, none of that. He's just a regular dude.
He's always, they say it's only gay if your balls touch.
Well, I shook hands and hugged him a few times. So yeah, none of that.
Anybody who thinks just because they're gay, they're trying to hit on you is like acting like just because you're a dude, you're going to try to hump every chick. It's like, it's not the case.
No.
Or vice versa. But good. So if you would have stayed in that small town, how likely would you be a racist homophobe still?
100%. 100%.
So do you think, we could help end racism just by getting people out of their elements and into the cultures of the world?
Exposing them to different people, different cultures. I've traveled all over the world. People hate China. I've been there multiple times. The people are just like me and you, except they're just a little bit shorter with dark hair and they're skinnier.
And can't drive.
Yeah, there's nothing
see, that's
wrong.
Supposed to be racist. Yeah. That's funny.
They're just normal people that want to work. It's the U.S. government that I think is corrupt, and it's the Chinese government that are corrupt. Those two have a problem. Well, see, I don't have a problem with the Chinese people. Yeah,
but Buck, you just touched on all. Now, again, not the systemic racism that you get from small towns and racists passing down their beliefs onto their children without that exposure. But I don't think there's as much racism in the world as they pretend. Because again, there's racism for sure. But I don't think there's as much as people think. It's because they want us to think we're all divided. They want you to not like gay people. They want you to not like other races. So they keep us divided by pretending that there's this big racist divide. When in reality, yeah, there is. But dude, it's backwoods. It's dipshits. It's people that haven't walked out and realized. And then again, you're a good dude for realizing, like, wait a minute. They were full of shit, because a lot of people, they wouldn't even have shook a hand because they would have just kept to what they know. But when you get to know people, that's why I'm not racist. I don't look at skin color or gender or frickin' sexual preference. I look at people. If you're gay, cool. That's just whatever you're deciding to do sexually. But still, dude, you can be a good gay dude. You can be a good black dude. You can be a piece of shit white dude. You can be an evil female. Like, dude, listen, everybody's an individual and we're all human. So to me, we're all one race anyway. We're human.
Yeah.
Some of us have different features. Some of us are from different territories. Some of us are from different cultures. But at the end of the day, dude, we're all humans. I don't care what race you are. You're a human, and that's the human race. There's one. We should all be together. But I don't think they want us to be, because like you said, the government, the machine, they don't want unity, bro.
No.
They don't want unity. Once we figure out, hey, there ain't nobody against each other, we're generally all fine together, and we start to look at, well, what's the real problem? The real problem is the controllers.
Yeah.
Because that's who's causing the divide, if you ask me. So you get out of boot camp, you're in the military, you're doing some shit. When did you decide, okay, I'm done with the Marines? You were there 9 years? That means you enlisted twice.
I did. I did a 5-year enlistment, and then I did a 4-year enlistment. And during my second enlistment, I finished my bachelor's degree.
What rank?
I made E5 twice. So I had a run-in with a master sergeant who, my little troop, we were going on a 96. So it's a 4-day weekend. And the CO, we had left an all-hands meeting, and the CO says, I'll see everybody at noon on Monday. So we go to the winds. Good. I'll see you guys at noon on Monday. We get going, and Master Sergeant comes down. And he goes, hey, I'll see you guys all for PT at 7 on Monday. I was like, the CO just said noon on Monday, and some of my guys are driving out of town. He goes, I don't care. Have them here for PT. And I said, okay. I showed up for PT, but I told my guys not to. So that's my fault. And this master sergeant was not having any of it. And he pulled me into his office with his little minion gunnery sergeant, and they were screaming at me. And the master sergeant took his little pokey finger and poked me in the chest. And at that point, it's on like Donkey Kong. You're not gonna, you can scream at me, you can threaten to punish me, but don't put your hands on me. And it turned into a dust up, a fisticuff, and bloody lip here and there. And then I had to go see the sergeant major. I told him exactly what happened. He goes, "I got this handled. Don't worry about this. I'll call the master sergeant and straighten this out." Well, next thing I know, I'm getting rung up on charges for disrespect and et cetera, whatever. And I went for an NJP. And at the same time, I was an E5, and I went to NJP. They knocked me down to corporal and restricted me to the barracks for 30 days for disrespecting the senior NCO. So I served my time. I get out. I go back to the office. A week or two later, somebody calls from Washington, D.C. and says, "Hey, Mr. Holly, let you know you're selected for staff sergeant, E6. I'm like, well, it's going to be kind of hard because I'm a corporal right now. So fast forward another year, I earned back enough, however they did it, points or whatever, and I got promoted to E5. But at that point, that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth. Also because I'd finished my education. And I think I'm a little bit smarter than your average bear. So a lot of the things that Marine Corps leadership does is because this is the way we've always done it. Just do it. And it's the hard way. It's always the hard way. And I started to question that along the way. As I started to get up in rank a little bit, I'd have conversations with my staff sergeant and my gunny. I'm like, why are we doing this? We could do this smarter. I just finished my bachelor's degree, and I'm pretty astute, and like, no, shut up and do it this way. So it was a culmination of my dust up combined with not being able to impact and make things more efficient. I said, I'm done. I'm out. And I started looking at going to law school. One of my college professors was a college professor in Hilton Head, South Carolina. He says, if you go to University of South Carolina and get a degree from South Carolina and you practice here, I'll pay for your law school and you come back and work for me. I'm like, well, that sounds like a great idea, but I've got 2 small kids. And my wife was just a bookkeeper. We wouldn't have been able to make ends meet. And at the same time, one of the defense contractors from the Beltway that I'd worked with when I was in the Marine Corps said, "Hey, you're getting out. We can probably put you to work and make pretty decent money." So it was take the hard route at this point, which I wasn't accustomed to doing really hard stuff, or take the easier route and go to work for a defense contractor. So I did. And it was a really good move. I looking back, I kind of wish I would have went into law. It would have been fun. But I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I would have been just a lawyer working at a law firm.
Well, that's an assumption.
It is an assumption, but
you could be farther than where you are.
Could be.
Because knowing the law is a big advantage. And not being and being able to deal as a lawyer. Because again, dude, I was almost going to go to law school because I just wanted the ability to, if I sue you, for me as a lawyer, it's free. It's my time. It's my knowledge. You get buried in paperwork and now you have to go hire an attorney and I can bury you in legal work. But besides that, dude, your motto's do hard shit. So why'd you pick the easy route?
Well, it's before I adopted the ethos of do hard shit. And I didn't really know what do hard shit was. And this is why I wouldn't change that decision, because I went on to do a lot of hard stuff. So I got assigned to this. So
you took the easy road.
I did.
And it turned out to be the hardest road.
It was.
And again, right now, when you said, well, and that, but I wouldn't have ended up here. Well, exactly here. I agree. But you don't know where you would have went otherwise. Because like I went into the Marine Corps, didn't graduate. I got the realization you got 9 years later, 9 weeks later. I'm in boot camp. I got some shit happening. I need to use the phone at the end of the day. I need to use the phone. They wouldn't let me. I went and used it any fucking way. Boom. They were threatening me with like court martials and all this other shit. And I started to realize like, dude, I'm property of the US government right now. I'm not a human being anymore. And then my girl sent a letter in and she said, "Hey, I know you banged this girl, Laura, and I'm going to go bang my friend Robbie." And I'm like, oh shit, now I'm really screwed. So I was panicking, freaking out, wanting to get the hell out of there the whole time. That's, by the way, another reason I need to use the phone, but now I'm in trouble. Now if I use the phone, boy, I'm really in trouble. So I couldn't use the phone. They were doing it on purpose in hindsight. But the final straw was I cut my leg right here, this big, nothing major, in rifle field training, freaking on some barbed wire. And it just, It wasn't even a big deal. I just cut my leg. And so they intentionally put me in sick bay for a week and a half. Well, dude, I was already fit for my dress blues. I was honor guide the whole fucking time, by the way. That's the only thing I wanted when I was there. And they knew that. And they tried to bust me. And I mean, they didn't obviously try hard enough, or they just would have, but they were screwing with me. I was paying, just like your dad said, dude, I was doing push-ups and doing shit that for everybody else, but I just dealt with it. Cause man, I wanted that fucking honor blues, uniform and the whole bit. And so I stuck with it, and I ate shit, and I stuck with it. And I've never ate shit like this. And so, and that's the hard shit. It was hard, dude. And so, cut my leg was the final straw. And then they said, I'm going to send you back to first phase. And I said, no problem. Like that's cool. But my mistake was I said to the guy, Staff Sergeant Carter, I said, no problem. As long as I graduate into my dress blues, to me, it's just more money on my check. Cause they'll pay you. You stay long enough, dude, they'll pay you the whole time. So I'm thinking, no problem, dude. He said, I'm going to make sure you don't. And dude, that's what he did. And basically that caused me to fucking say what you said. This is bullshit, dude. I'm not going to be property of the U.S. government. This is nonsense. I'm done. So I went to the commanding officer and said, hey, listen, I'm immature. I shouldn't have been here. Like I really made a mistake. Dude leaned over and he said, hey, if you tell anybody this, you're going to be in more trouble. But if you want out, just refuse to train. I said, what do you mean? He said, be polite, but just tomorrow morning, politely refuse to train. I said, I won't go to jail or anything. He said, technically, you're not even a Marine until you graduate. So you're not going to jail. You're going to go home. So if you really, it's up to you, but if you want out, just refuse to train tomorrow. So the next day, dude, I woke up and just refused to train. They sent me to fucking pork chop platoon, made me fucking sweep for 2 weeks and do a bunch of bullshit and kicked my ass out. Now, I didn't get a dishonorable discharge. I got an R3 admin waiver. So it was like I wasn't never even there. But I realized the same thing you just said, but thankfully, well, not thankfully, because dude, now I wish I would have stayed in the Marines. See, like, because that was the hard thing. And then I'd say, well, I wouldn't be here where I am today. I don't know that. Of course, I could have been dead because my whole plan was to get out, go back and be a cop and marry the girl I was cheating on because I loved her. Why was you cheating on her? Well, because I was a kid, and when the opportunity arose and your tool arose with the opportunity, you used it. Yeah. You made mistakes when you were young, but my goal was get out of the Marines, go back to Oregon, and just be a police officer and marry her. So anyway, I could have got out, went to be a cop, ended up in jail. Why in jail from a cop? Because dude, my ethics weren't very good back then. I could have busted somebody with like 10 kilos of cocaine, and I would have drug his ass in, put him in the jail cell, and then went and submitted the eight ball that I found him with. And the other 10 keys would have been in the trunk of my car. They'd be somewhere. But dude, I was not an ethical dude. So I mean, maybe that's why. Who knows why? But I do know that I just assume, well, thank God I didn't do that, because I would have ended up somewhere worse than I am. Who knows? Maybe I would have ended up somewhere better. Maybe I would have been a freaking hero. Maybe I would have saved the 9/11 towers. Like, you never know, because dude, you can't change what happened. But anyway, I got what you're saying though. So you decided to go the easy route and you went and did that. When did the hard shit start?
Well, there was a few not really hard stuff, and I worked in an office that we created one-off prototypes of unique things. So the office that I worked in, we would get an urgent need statement from warfighters that were downrange, and they'd say, we need a bullet that goes around a corner, or we need, weird things. So the projects that I were typically worked on were optics for rifles, rifles themselves, ammunition types, testing different types of ammunition, and the optics, and counter IED, counter mine type stuff. You'd have, you wouldn't work on the whole project. You'd get assigned a task, like find something that we can put on the front of a tank that can beat the ground and disrupt these IEDs. And during that time, I got to work on a couple great projects, but my favorite was we were sitting at a meeting at a trade show in Washington, D.C. I was with my boss, and he was with a couple of the bigwigs from BAE Land Systems in Detroit that make the Bradley fighting vehicle. And the conversation, I was basically a bag boy. And the conversation came up, hey, we're driving through the streets of Iraq or in Baghdad, and people are shooting at these armored vehicles, and the tank crews like to drive around with their heads sticking up so they can see situational awareness. When they start getting shot at, we need something to launch and fly, or we need something to collect situational awareness around the vehicle when the hatches are closed. So that was the challenge, and I was sitting there thinking, how do we do this? And I asked a question. I said, well, what real estate do we have on the vehicle that we can use to put something like this? And I probably wasn't supposed to say anything. And he says, well, we've got these two tow missile launcher tubes on both sides of the turret. And each one of them has two launchers in it, two tubes. And he says, you can have all that real estate you want because we're in Baghdad. We're not having these tank on tank wars. We're just driving around. So I went back to my office, and I remember seeing a small airplane with carbon fiber wings that you could roll up. And when you rolled the wings in on itself, it became about 6 inches in diameter, which is the same size of a tow tube. I said, what if we put one of these little remote airplanes in this? This is 20 years ago, before all this, Ukraine drone stuff was even popular. And so what we did is we took this aircraft and we compacted it, and we made a launcher, which is one of my patents, which is launching an aircraft out of a tow tube. And we figured out how to put it in there, close the hatch, link it up to a laptop, open the hatch, blow this thing out. 35 milliseconds later, the propeller turns on, this thing flies around, you can control it, and you can do situational awareness because it's got a camera in it. This is great. So we took it back to the guys at BAE, and I can still remember his face. And we proposed this project, and we needed some funding. And they're like, man, this is great. If you can do this, this is amazing. But we're not going to give you as much funding as you want because we don't think it's possible. So we took the little bit of money that we had, and we put it in this project, and we made a prototype that actually worked. And we took it out to Camp Roberts in California. We flew it around, and it was great. Well, what I didn't know was that some of the guys that were there witnessing these tests were from some certain agency. And then they said, hey, how accurate is this little airplane that you're flying around? What, can you hit anything with it? I'm like, what do you mean hit something with it? You're not supposed to hit anything with it. You're supposed to fly it, land it, go recover it, and put it back in the tube. He said, do you think you could hit the windshield of a car? I was like, no problem. He goes, okay. So they disappeared. They came back the next day with this. It looks like a big net. It was like 8 feet wide, 8 feet tall. It had this little pipe thing, and they like you'd throw a basketball into or something. And they stood this thing up on the range and put a big red tape target in the middle of it and said, hey, fly this little drone around and see if you can hit that red mark. I'm like, okay. And we did. And we recovered the aircraft, and he was like, man, that's great. He goes, how much payload do you got in there? I said, well, a couple ounces, half a pound. I don't know. Depends on how we configure it. And turns out they wanted to load the payload with C4. I was like, oh, now I get it. So fast forward a couple months, we go back to Camp Roberts with this airplane that's got C4 in it, and they blew up a couple cars. And after that, I never saw the project again. I don't know whatever happened to it, but that was one of the first instances of do hard stuff. Like when everybody says that it can't be done, they would throw it over the transom to us and say, hey, go see what you can do with a little bit of money. And we always were able to come up with a material solution to a problem with limited budgets. And that was the start of doing hard stuff. It was kind of like being a Marine. Everybody says that Marines get hand-me-downs from the Army. Well, in my office, we always got hand-me-downs, and that was a success. And then I carried that forward into business. When somebody presents an obstacle in front of you, you got a couple things that you can do. You can go over it, under it, through it, around it. And that's what I've done in business since then, is every time we've come up to a challenge, which is hard stuff, We find a way around. We don't cuddle up in a ball in the fetal position in the corner and cry, because I have since burned all the boats. We're here. There's no other, you can't go backwards. You have to go forward. So you got to figure out how to get around this obstacle to make your business grow and thrive, making payroll, keeping the lights on, buying material, creating new products. Every one of those things, the genesis of all those projects that I've completed on my own in business comes from either being a Marine and getting hand-me-downs supposedly, or being in this government office where you got hand-me-downs all the time.
How did you secure a patent? Since, you built it there and learned it there, but they weren't smart enough to protect the because wouldn't that be theirs? No.
Patent laws are pretty stringent. It is whoever invents the idea. So if I work for General Dynamics, and I sign a contract with them, then anything I make belongs to General Dynamics, but my name goes on the patent as an inventor.
Wow.
And so
but you don't get the proceeds.
No, and there weren't any from that project because it was a government project. Now, if it would have taken off, maybe, but back then I wasn't even smart enough to know. The only reason that we patented it was because my partner that I was working on the project was smart enough to say, we want to patent this in case something ever comes of this in the future. So I just kind of went along for the ride. That was my first experience with trying to secure a patent. And it was pretty interesting, which led to, in the future, this is why now we've got several other patents that are worth a lot of money, because we knew that what we were working on would lead to bigger and better things. And luckily, that's not a lesson I had to learn the hard way. If I had released the product that we make at my parent company, C&H Precision, right now, is a patented method to put a red dot optic on top of a pistol. So that mounting interface is patented, and my patent doesn't run out for 13 or 14 more years. Everybody else that's making something that's like ours is either making one of our old versions, or they're doing something unique that isn't as well put together as ours is. So that was a very valuable lesson that I learned, that I didn't have to learn the hard way. I learned it more the easy way, and then I just continue to do it since then.
So there's more easy shit that's paid off. So you might have to change your mantra.
I love easy shit.
Do hard shit may not be the only way to win.
But both you and I are probably of the intelligence level that we haven't always been super mature and super great people, and we learned a lot of hard lessons. I wouldn't go back and change anything. The only thing I would go back in time and change, if I could change anything, I wouldn't remove any of the hardships from my life. The one thing that I would go back in time and do is what I did a year ago, not quite a year. It was in November of last year. I quit drinking, because what I realized was how many days did I underperform at my job as the CEO. Have 3 or 4 beers last night, come into work the next day, and yeah, I'm here, I'm present, but I'm not super, super motivated. My brain's just a little bit foggy. And all the dumb things that I am the world's best at saying dumb shit when I've had more than 4 or 5 cocktails. And the number of apologies that I've had to issue since I stopped drinking is 0. And I haven't woke up hungover. I always get up and go to work. I'm absolutely plugged in. It's kind of like an African animal. If you ever have the chance to go to Africa and hunt, it's totally different than hunting in the U.S. U.S. animals have no predators. Now, maybe some mule deer or elk wolves and mountain lions. But on the East Coast, there's no predators. So the deer just kind of frolic along, and the pigs frolic along, and there's a hunter. They're not switched on. They're just eating. In Africa, you learn that every single animal there, including you, needs to be 100% switched on at all the times, because there's always something out there that's tracking you while you're tracking your prey. Whether it's an elephant, a rhino, a lion, a leopard, a Cape buffalo. I mean, you run into a mean Cape buffalo, you surprise him in the bush, he's going to just gore you to death. And
well, what are you doing in the bush in the first place is my question.
Doing hard shit.
Yeah, because again, I mean, like, dude, I went to Africa. I went on those little safaris. I didn't hunt, but I saw lions and all the big five. Is it the big five?
There's a big five and there's a dangerous seven.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure some of them are in the same ones.
They're all the five are in the seven.
Yeah. But I saw a rhino and I'm sitting there in a car. Now, again, it's in the wild, but I'm in a car and I'm sitting there. Oh, I love rhinos, man. Let me look at this rhino. And it had a little rhino baby with it. And so I honked the horn so I could get its attention. Well, dude, I regretted that real quick. And it wasn't real close, but it was close enough. And I honked the horn so it looks my way. And when it looked my way, dude, it started freaking doing the shit because its baby was there. And it started freaking trotting our way. I'm like, go, man, go. But at the end of the day, dude, there's always something there that'll get you. And if it's not an animal, it's a disease.
Or a bush.
Dengue fever.
Yeah.
Yellow fever.
So is this where the rhinos all over your office come from?
No, the rhinos came from, originally I read a book called Rhinoceros Success, and it talked about rhinos as opposed to cows. And most people are cows. You know, you can set up a fence with a single line across and a cow will stay within its boundaries and it just sits around and eats. A rhino, on the other hand, if it sees something and it wants something, you're not stopping that thing. It'll die to get it, and it just charges. And so I was at this thing, and everybody was coming up with the exercise was to come up with an animal. And so everyone was saying lions and eagles and panthers and all these cool ass animals. They got to me, and dude, everyone already took all the other shit. So I just said, I'll be a rhino. And someone said, why a rhino? And I said, you ever try and stop one? And they said, oh, damn, dude, that'd be like a tank. And that kind of became my attitude in business. Like, you ain't stopping me. So I just adopted the rhino. Then people started bringing me a rhino. And then the next thing you know, I go out and get drunk one night. Bang, rhino. So I'm like, okay, rhino's my shit. I'm a rhino. But that's why the rhino.
Mine would be a Cape Buffalo.
Why?
Because they're just big and gnarly, and they look like they're just super calm, just sitting there. You make one move, they're so fast and so big and so powerful. They look majestic. You step out of line one time, and they will just maul the shit out of you.
So what is the thrill of shooting one?
I come from a long line of guys that grew up hunting. It's just part of my DNA, hunting and harvesting animals and eating them. And I think I don't want to say that it makes you more of a man, because there's a lot of men out there that just don't hunt. But from my tribe and my DNA, I think if I didn't hunt, I'd be I'd
pussy.
Well, my ancestors would look down upon me, and I don't want that. And it's adventure. You're eating, but you're also doing so much good for the local indigenous population over there. If you really understand the whole life cycle of hunting in Africa, it's not shooting things for sport. You're over there shooting things for sport, but you're going to eat it. But that Cape Buffalo or the elephant that I shot, that fed in one trip last November, I shot 2 elephants and 3 hippos on the whole trip. That fed 30,000 people for a month. And the people that came up to me when we delivered this meat in the village, people would just appear magically walking out of the bush. They knew there was meat coming. And people came from everywhere carrying little garbage bags, little shopping bags. They'd grab a chunk of meat and disappear back off into the bush, and they'd go eat. They had food for a couple days. So if it's legal and you can do it ethically, internally, it gives me peace knowing that I'm passing this on to the next generation of my kids, and all my kids hunt too. And they enjoy it. And it's something that we do as camaraderie. I mean, other people, maybe they play golf as a family. Well, we hunt.
Well, I hunted with my family. My family's a hunting family. My distaste for hunting, which again, I mean, if I had to eat, dude, trust me, I'll hunt. But like, I don't want to just go kill the animal anymore, because I walked up on a deer once when we were all out hunting. Pop, dropped it, walked over. It was sitting there looking right at me with their big doughy eyes, and it was in pain, clearly, because I didn't kill it. And it was just going, and it was like clearly in pain, suffering. And so I'm thinking, damn, dude, I got to put it out of its misery. So I point the gun, and it's right at the head, this far away. And so I turned my face so I didn't like get splatter in my face. I turned my face, pulled the trigger, and when I turned, I must have moved the gun a little bit, and it went from its head to its jaw. And then I pulled the trigger, and then all of a sudden the screaming got louder, and I looked back, and all I did was shoot its jaw off. And then it was like screaming in pain. It sounded like agony. And I'm like, oh shit. And then my friend, he's probably still a hunter. I think what he did is worse than what I did, but he just walked up with a buck knife, stuck it right up under the nuts or the tail, freaking gutted it right on the spot. Basically was just trying to get the back straps, field dressed it right there, walked away with back straps only, left a big old heaping pile of guts and deer. And all the damn thing was wanting to do when we walked up on it was get some water. It was just trying to drink some water. And I thought, man, we are barbaric assholes. This fucking deer just wanted to get water, and here come a human being and ripped its guts out for no reason. And I'm like, dude, I'm not hunting anymore. I just quit. So that got me to quit, like actually going out and killing animals. But I still fish. Yeah. I don't think a fish has never screamed out in pain when I smack it over the head.
Right.
So I'm just assuming it doesn't hurt the fish. But if a fish could talk to me or show pain, I would probably feel sorry for the fish and quit fishing. But I catch and release anyway. But dude, I mean, I don't look down on hunters. I almost envy them. Why? Because dude, it was fun. But at the end of the day, dude, it's just, in my opinion, fuck, dude, let the damn thing live. But I don't know. I mean, if I had to eat, that would change.
So it brings up an interesting point. I'm teaching future generations, and I take other kids hunting. We have a farm in Georgia, and I take neighbor kids hunting for the first time and teach them how to shoot a deer and teach them how to clean it. And then I send them home with meat. And I rationalize it to myself, whether it's correct or not. But imagine if the world goes to hell in a handbasket.
Then I'd be hunting.
And then imagine all the people that have never hunted and they got to go.
They'd be relying on a hunter.
Yes, they are. And I don't want my kids to be reliant on anybody else for anything. I want them to be able to do everything for themselves, feed themselves and clothe themselves. And now, will they ever use it? I don't know.
Have you taught them how to grow vegetables?
I have not.
Well, what are they going to do for fucking carrots, bro?
They're gonna be on the carnivore diet. That's what they're gonna be.
Or they're gonna go rely on a gardener.
Right.
But I'd rather be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war.
I would too.
Yeah. So again, I don't blame people for it. I just personally, I feel bad for the animal. I'm just too freaking soft when it comes to like, poor thing. I mean, dude, if you'd have saw it, you probably might have been the same way. But so what's the championship shooter shit? Is that like targets or?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a marksman now?
So I have shot in this worldwide series called the Precision Rifle Series for 15 years now. And in 2022, it's funny, they had a team picked out, Team USA, and I didn't make the cut. And at the last moment, this is at the tail end of COVID, and one of the guys that was shooting in the division that I shoot in decided that he didn't want to go through all the hassle of traveling to France with guns at the tail end of COVID. And he says, I'm out. I don't want the hassle. And then next on the list was me. So I get the phone call like, hey, you're in. I'm like, oh my God, literally, there's a couple of things that I just cherished since I was a kid. Being part of Team USA, when I watched the Americans beat the Russians, that cemented in my mind. At some point, I would love to be on Team USA something, whether it's bowling, I don't care what it is. This was my opportunity to be on Team USA. So I signed up. We go to France. And while I'm there, I ended up taking silver as an individualist and a team gold. And every team that we sent over there just cleaned the table because Americans are just our opportunities to shoot are so much more than everywhere else in the
Because of gun laws?
Gun laws, and it's popular here. It's actually a sport. You go to some other countries like France or Poland, and what we have at a match in the U.S. where there's typically 100 to 150 shooters, and one match happens every weekend, they might have 150 shooters in all of Poland that shoot matches regularly. In America, there's one match every weekend, and like clockwork, there's 100 or 150 to 200 people at every match. So it's wildly popular. The deck is stacked towards the Americans, and we went over there and we took I took an individual silver and a team gold. So that was my one time to wear the red, white, and blue Team America jersey, came home with some hardware. And at that point, I kind of hung up my spurs and I said, I'm done shooting professionally. I'm really going to buckle down and continue to. That was the start of growing C&H Precision into something more than just a machine shop making metal parts. That's when we started acquiring other companies that do consumables. We bought a small company that does optic lens cleaners and gun lube. And then we started talking about the supplement company. And then we started talking about the tech company to finish out my portfolio of companies. And that's, I can point to that because before that, 2 weekends a month, I was traveling around the country, around the world, basically doing a high-end hobby. Professional shooting is not much more than a high-end hobby. And when you get to the top, you can look back and say, I'm done. Now let's go get me to the top in the business world. And you can't be really good in business and be a professional shooter because shooting professionally takes a lot of time. It's like 10
golf.
days a month. It is like golf. You got to practice and then you got to go to matches. And a match probably costs you $2,500 to $3,000 to go to every match between travel, hotels, food, and ammo.
What was your win?
You get to walk a prize table. If you win, you can walk the prize table and you can take home something worth a couple $1,000s that you then have to sell to some schmo to get your money back to pay for your trip. So at the end of the day, do I focus on my business and my family, or do I keep doing this hobby? Let's go into doing this. And I actually have way more fun growing a business and acquiring more company and finishing out my portfolio than I ever did shooting rifles.
Are you a proud member of the NRA?
I'm a member of the NRA, yes.
I think everyone should be.
I think so.
Again, I can't believe there's people that are against guns.
It's one of the things one of the reasons why in my new building, I built 10 indoor pistol bays. We got a high-end pro shop and we got a cafe. The cafe is 100% designed with one customer in mind, and her name is Kendra. Kendra is a medical professional. She's married to a banker. They've got 3 kids. They've got 2 dogs, and she drives a white SUV. Everything about the coffee shop we designed around her. How do we get her to feel comfortable? There's no dead animals on the walls. There's flowers and nice cushions and stuff, and we make craft coffee and breakfast and lunch. The pro shop has guns. And they sell guns, and we have a range. We put that range up because I want to focus heavily on the women demographic that want to shoot and want to have a cup of coffee. And I want to teach kids responsible firearms training for free. Why? Because a kid who has no exposure to a firearm is more apt to have an accident because their curiosity is going crazy. Oh, there's a gun. I wonder what it does in the movies. And they sit there and play. This is how accidents happen.
100%.
So if I can get access to a group of kids and teach them responsible gun safety and expose them at a young age, it prevents accidents in the future. And people on the other side of the aisle are anti-gun everything, don't want them to see. They want to outlaw them. They don't want anybody to bring them. It just baffles me that you would not want to expose every kid to gun. We make people take driver's safety to learn how to drive a car because they're going to be exposed to a car. Make them take gun safety so they at least know the common sense rules of handling guns and preventing accidents.
It should be in schools.
It used to be in schools.
I think, again, people like, Brad, you just said you don't want to hunt animals. Yeah, so what? What's that got to do with it? Like, I'm all for guns. Like, dude, I think every American should have a gun. Isn't that crazy?
We're actually making a really special one for you right now.
Why is that?
Well, because you should have one. I mean, we do make.
So you manufacture guns? I thought you did the lasers.
We do the red dot sights and we do the plates, but we also, on very limited runs, make some very high end pistols.
Wow.
And I just couldn't get it done in time to bring it out here. So making a good gun doesn't happen overnight.
Well, I think we need to bring in people like you, people like me, and people, and I don't know of a lot, but who's against a gun? Like, I want to talk to some of those people with some of us people, because I think that there's got to be a reason they're so against them within reason. Because again, I mean, yeah, I'm against criminals having guns. Like, if you're a criminal and you use guns in crime, you should lose your gun right. You're a criminal that used a gun in the commission of a crime, and you're violent, and you shouldn't have a gun. Police should have guns. Citizens should have guns. Women should have guns. Children should have guns. I think every teacher in a school should have a gun.
Absolutely. 100%.
Again, I'm telling you. Now, again, that's not going to cause deaths in your school. That's going to prevent deaths in your school. That's common sense. I just want to talk to people that don't believe that, so I can say, what am I missing? Tell me what I'm missing. And I would ask you, but you're with me. Like, what can they possibly believe in their minds that would think a gun that doesn't move is going to cause a death? Well, because they have access to it. They have access to a knife. You don't want to get rid of knives. A car is more dangerous than a gun. You're not taking away people's guns or cars. Like, you're acting like the gun itself is the problem, when the problem in that case would be the person. And if the person doesn't have a gun, you think everything's going to be just peachy, and that all of a sudden he's going to go, damn, I wish I had a gun. No, he's going to grab a knife. He's going to get in a car. He's going to grab a bat. He's going to sharpen a stick. Like, you're going to get killed by a dude that wants to kill you, even if he doesn't have a gun. The question is, are you able to defend yourself against one of those people without a gun? Now, again, everyone should learn to fight. Everyone should learn to defend themselves. Everybody should learn gun safety and be prepared. But, dude, I can't believe there's going to be people in the world saying, no, I'm all for no guns. And by the way, just for the record, for the haters out there, if everyone lost their guns at one time, I'm cool with that. Why? You ain't got a gun. I ain't got a gun. No one's got guns. I'm cool with that. But if you got a gun and they got a gun, then I want a motherfucking gun. Why? Just in case those people come against me with their guns. Because, again, I mean, dude, I don't care if it's the law. I don't care if it's the freaking criminal. If I'm sitting there and someone's against me, I want to have the ability to defend myself. And I think we have the right to bear arms, right?
We do. And this, if we could have a rational conversation with these people and they would listen as you and I would listen. You listen to my point of view, I'll listen to yours, and we'll come to an agreement in the middle. Most people are rational about that. But the people that are totally anti-gun, and I've had conversations with many, they just,
what do they say?
They have no appetite to even listen to my rationale.
But what did they say? What's their rationale?
Their rationale is what you just laid out. Oh my God, this object here could go off and kill somebody. It doesn't go off unless somebody uses it, just like the knife and the bat and the car. And this goes back to what we talked about earlier. It's the government. It's government officials who have trained people to think a certain way, and there's no other option. We need to stop training people to think a certain way and start to train them to think with their entire brain. And that's how we can move the needle, is just be receptive to everybody's perspective. It's the black thing. It's the gay thing. It's the gun thing. Listen to everybody's and understand. And at the end of the day, if we could have that anti-gun person in here and they walk out of here still not liking guns, but they're okay with me having guns, I'm good. You live your life your way and I won't bother you. I'll live my way and you don't bother me and we're good. But they don't see the world that way. It's their way or the highway. I don't
some of them for sure.
I don't make people buy guns. I encourage them to.
So if somebody's listening to this, because obviously, dude, being in the defense, inventing kick-ass weaponry and shit like that, you're obviously a killer gun manufacturer when you build one and all the accessories. So people that are listening, they're like, dude, I'm in the guns. I got guns. I want guns. I want your scopes, your red dots. Is that C&H?
That is C&H. Yeah. So C&H started in business because a phone rang one day and a big gun company was going to go to the SHOT Show and they needed these little aluminum parts made. And because of my history with this guy and knowing that I came from the defense industry and my ability to prototype things very, very quick, very fast and exact specifications, he called me and says, I need 25 of these. And I knew that if this guy calling from this company, who was actually the best man at my wedding, if they're doing it, it's probably going to be something big. So instead of making 25, I made 50 and I waited till they released them. And this was when the Glock MOS came out, modular optical system. So you can put an optic on top. And then it took me 6 months to sell the first 25 on eBay, taking payments via PayPal. And then we made 100, and then we made 200. And this is when we transitioned out of making precision bolt action rifles. This is where you have to, as a business guy, you got to learn to pivot. I should still be making bolt action rifles, but I decided I'm going to get out of that and I'm going to pool all my resources to make this aluminum part. And for 4.5 years, we were awarded Inc. Magazine's fastest growing manufacturer in the 8-state Southeast region of the U.S. in 2023. Because we grew 500% year over year over year for 3 years, 1,600 and some odd percent in 3 years. That was our growth. So I knew that was happening. And we made these awesome plates. We got a patent. And then because we're selling plates for people that are buying pistols, we know that they're putting a red dot on top of them. And the big manufacturers have red dots. And we were buying them from them directly, because every time that they needed to put a new red dot on a new version of some pistol, they would call me. Hey, can you make a plate that goes on that mounts my optic to an FN 509? Yeah, I can do that. And we'd make one. Now we have the design. So when they start becoming popular, we can start producing more. We did this favor for them hundreds of times. And because of that, we got preferential treatment from these two big companies. And I don't know what happened, but I heard that some of the online dealers were getting pissed because we were doing so well. We were selling so many optics that in the same month and a half span, one company stopped fulfilling POs to us, just cut us off. And the other one called and says, we're jacking up your prices. And I'm like, you guys, why are you doing this to me? This is a substantial amount of revenue, me reselling your optics. And it was at that time I had been trying to convince Swarovski to create a red dot for a pistol for 3 years at SHOT Show. And all of this happened at the same time. I'd asked them 3 times to make a red dot because I'd help them promote it. I knew the industry. I knew how to get them connected. And then these 2 suppliers dry up. And it was at that time I had to pivot again. I said, well, if I'm going to grow this company and keep scaling, now I need to make my own red dot. So I took all the lessons that I learned mounting red dots and milling slides for red dots, what people liked about this optic and what they didn't, what they like about this one and what they don't like about that one. And we set out and designed our own series of optics that fixed everybody's gripe about the current optics on the market. And we released them. And what they unknowingly did is they created a small little monster that's now nipping at their heels. And we're way significantly smaller than them, but we're on the trajectory to catch up to them in the next 3 or 4 years. So they created animosity and a little enemy because they refused to work with me after all the favors that I'd done for them over years. Now I look back, I'm like, now I wish I wouldn't have helped them out as much as I did, because it turned around and bit me in the ass, but it made me a better person. I'm glad I went through that, because then we created a whole new division within our company that now makes these optics and sells them to the users. So, and why is a red dot important? You and I are probably and I'm in my 50s, you're probably getting close. And as we get older, our eyesight gets bad. And humans are threat-focused animals. If I want to pick a fight with you, or you are my target, I never take my eyes off you. I'm watching you, your hands, your arms, your movement, your stance, and now we're going to go toe-to-toe. That's how a human operates. But now you put a pistol in their hand, and now we're getting scientific, but you put a pistol in your hand, and now they train you. Clear front sight tip, spaced evenly in the rear sight aperture, and then you put it over the top of your target. That's 3 planes of focus: the rear sight, the front sight, and the target. Now, if I'm aiming really well, doing my fundamentals so that I can hit my target, how can I tell what your hands are doing, what your body motions are? So you're not really threat focused when you're shooting a pistol with iron sights. Now, when I take and put a red dot on there, now I superimpose this red dot that's shining up on this piece of glass from behind. That's how it works. Now I superimpose the red dot right on your chest, and I'm looking at you, and with my periphery, I'm using the red dot. So anybody that has a vision impairment, they're getting old, their eyesight's starting to go bad, and they can't see their iron sights anymore, the red dot is an absolute game changer for making you a better shooter. So in the next 5 years, I predict that 25 to 50% of all pistols that are sold will come with a red dot on top of them. So you just take it out of the box and go to town. That's it.
What powers them? A lithium battery?
CR, a little 2032 coin cell battery. And
like roughly what do those cost?
It costs anywhere from $275 to $325. The competitors, one competitor is probably 5 or 10% more than us with similar features. And then our two other big competitors are in that $500 to $700 price range. So we're half of what they are, and ours are every bit as durable as theirs or better.
Why are they always red? Why can't you pick a color? Maybe if a girl wants pink.
That gets into, so there's two popular colors. There's red and green. And I've heard through some optical engineers that all the other colors that they can make these LEDs in are not easily, it's hard to pick up on certain types of targets. So making a yellow one, it'd be really hard because it's typically sunny outside. It'd be hard to see a yellow one. Blue, I don't know why they don't do a blue, but the only emitters that we can get come in green or red, and it's been red forever. It's only been the last 2 or 3 years that now you can get a green one, and a lot of people like the green. What's that?
Is that from military?
Probably,
but you see movies, the military always has green lasers.
So the difference between a laser and a red dot is the green laser projects a laser beam, and that's where your bullet's going to go. That's typically on an AR-15 style rifle. On a pistol, it doesn't project a laser anywhere. It's a little aluminum body. It's got a piece of glass. And from the back, it shines this little light up and it reflects off the back side of the glass. So that's what you see. But you as a target can't see what I'm seeing in there. So it doesn't project anything. It just shows a little dot inside the back of your glass. And that's how it works.
So you're looking through the glass?
You're looking through the glass, yep. Both eyes open, which is even better. You know, the iron sights, everybody kind of squints and they're looking through their dominant eye. Well, with a red dot, you shoot with both eyes open. And so you've got all this situational awareness of what bad things could be happening over here while I'm focused on you.
You got to sight them in?
You do. It's pretty easy.
So what's AIM software, asset tracking platform for law enforcement?
So there's a capability gap. I'll give you for example, there's a very large police department in New York metropolitan area, like 30,000 sworn officers, and they keep track of all their serialized items on an Excel spreadsheet. So gun light, rifle light, all this serialized stuff. And for traceability and tracking, how easy is it to get in there and delete a row on Microsoft Excel? It's probably pretty easy. And you got to find out who has authorization to access this file. It's kind of convoluted and kind of old school. So what we're doing is we're creating a piece of software that tracks all of your inventory of your serialized items, your pistols, your lights, your optics, your guns, your shotguns, your less lethals. It tracks all your ammo stockpiles so that every time you pull something out of the warehouse, you scan it and your level goes down by 1 case. And then we can set threshold levels of reorder points, and it's all automated. So if you got a million rounds in the armory and you get down to 500,000, that's your order point. Several people in your chain of command get an email that says, hey, you got to order some ammo. It keeps track of your training and your certification. So everything is a repository in one spot that lives on the cloud. We're we're in 2025. A lot of police officers or police agencies are operating in like 1980s as far as inventory of this stuff. So it was just an opportunity that we thought was worth taking. And I wanted a technology company that created code because it's so easy to build it and then replicate it around to different agencies. It's just part of my growth as a company leader to round out my portfolio of companies. And I think if you're making a good round company, you need something that's built to withstand the test of time, which is our optics and our plates. That's how I got into the software, because I wanted a technology part. So if I ever came up with an app or a program that I want, I'd stick them in there. Our supplements, I bought a supplement company so that I can hand this stuff out.
That's the Ruck Pack.
That's Ruck Pack. Yep. It's a company that's been around. It was originally on Shark Tank, and I bought it from a friend of mine, and he's still a partner today. And we're going to make hydration sticks, powders, everything. We want to make everything that's good for you. So it's a hydration and nootropic. So you can put it in your bottle of water and you get some hydration and your nutrients and your vitamins. And then we'll make one with some caffeine. And then we're going to make another one that's got a special formula that we got from some Army guys that helps them with TBI and post-traumatic stress syndrome and some of the challenges that they have. We're going to make one that's specially formulated for them, because the roots of Ruck Pack were creating an energy drink that was really, really good for you, that didn't have any of the sugar, any of the bad stuff. The problem when you do something like that is anything that's really good for you doesn't taste super awesome. And Ruck Pack has always, I've drank cases of it in my past, but I've never had one and it never tasted as good as a Diet Coke, right? But you see all these other energy drinks on the market that are super popular and they're horrible for you. I wouldn't ever let my 13-year-old drink a Red Bull or a Monster or something. There's so much chemical junk in it. And we want to take that, refine it to something that's very lightweight and packable. I hunt a lot in Africa, so you might be hiking for 8 hours and I can't take the little 5-hour energy shots because they're heavy. So I want something that I can take 10 of them, put them in my pack that don't weigh little or nothing, dump them in a water bottle, and now I'm hydrated for the rest of the day.
Is that the only thing, or other things in addition as they develop out?
There will be other things in the future. Let's get these first three off the ground and running full bore.
Now, where do people go to get these? Are these like in beta or are they launched?
They're in beta right now.
So you can't get Ruck Pack supplements right now?
Not right now. Maybe by the time that this releases, yes. But we're busy creating the new formulas, testing them, getting them certified so that we know that they're good for you and they got exactly the right ingredients in them. There's a whole, again, we go back to these, experience is expensive. I've never owned a restaurant. Now I do. Now I get to learn all those lessons of running that. I've never owned a supplement company. My company makes stuff that's supposed to last forever. Now I get to make something that you consume. It's a consumable. And when I knew I needed to add a consumable to my portfolio, it was tobacco. Man, I don't want to do that. Alcohol. I don't drink anymore and I don't want to do that. Name a couple other consumables, and we fell upon this exploding market of the vitamins and the supplements and the hydration stuff.
You also could have went coffee.
We do coffee in the coffee shop, and that might be something that we do in the future.
Look at Black Rifle. They got huge.
They did. There's a Black Rifle coffee shop just 3 miles from my office, and they're doing really, really well. But you also have to pick these markets that the coffee market, is completely saturated. I mean, it seems like every time I turn around, somebody else is popping up as a craft roaster of beans and delivering them to them. Yeah. And they have to play off of your sympathies, or you got to be part of that clique to want to buy it. And I'd really rather get into something that is consumable across the board, that kids can drink and adults and everybody.
Yeah, I'm thinking consumables, but I'm weird because it's not about the money anymore. It's about, do I really believe in them? So it's like, I could come out with my own coffee, but that's like, you got to get distribution. Otherwise I'd just be white labeling someone's coffee. That's someone's coffee. Might as well I'll tell you where it is if I love it so much. But I need to figure out a consumable. So I started looking at, right now I'm considering like some sort of nutritional gummy, nootropic, energy, clarity, some sort of like gummy, because my buddy owns a gummy plant. Yeah. Like all the gummies you see in the world, whether it's, vitamin C gummies or airborne gummies or freaking THC gummies or whatever gummies, like they get manufactured out of this big gummy place. So a buddy of mine owns one in Dallas. Like he can make them cheap as shit, but good. and he's all about the quality. So I'm about quality. So I said, maybe one of these days I'll figure out a gummy that people can take that maybe like gives you rhino skin or something, like just makes you bulletproof. So I might come out with a consumable, but I see why you did that. So you've got C&H Precision, then AIM Software, Grounds and Rounds, BullyWerx. What the hell's BullyWerx?
Well, BullyWerx spawned out of C&H, and
how are you naming these?
BullyWerx is named after my dog Ben. He's a pit bull.
Oh.
And if you see any of the logos, it looks like the Georgia Bulldog, but it's not a bulldog; it's a pit bull. AIM is named after asset inventory management.
Just happens to be.
Yep. Ruck Pack. I had no connection in naming that. Rob named that many years ago. BullyWerx. Get back to BullyWerx. If you want to get into business and have the deck stacked against you, get into the firearms industry, even touch the periphery, because suddenly you become a target for everybody. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, liability insurance, general insurance, workers' comp insurance. Every one of these people, when they find out, the ATF, when they find out you're in the firearms industry, everything is double or triple.
Why?
Credit card fees.
They don't want you to advertise?
Because they can, because of politicians. It gets back to politicians. They think that we're evil. They put us in the same category as tobacco, alcohol, well, the ATF, tobacco, alcohol, and pawn shops and strip clubs. The way that we process credit cards and such. There's only 3 or 4 credit card processors in the US that will do business with us because we're in the firearms industry.
I'm one of them.
So that'd be great.
I can get your business.
Okay. Then we'll have to talk about that after. But so BullyWerx is the home for all non-firearms projects so that we don't have to worry about paying double for credit card fees and getting banned or blocked or blacklisted on any of the social media things. So if you're a manufacturer here in the US and you want custom screws or fasteners or injection molded parts, that's what BullyWerx do. We design things here in America and we subcontract the production out across the world, or we subcontract it to C&H Precision. So it's screws. We've made smokers for barbecue in your backyard. It's on golf cart tires. The thing is badass.
Racing components,
race car components, because I like to race Porsches. So every once in a while I'm like, hey, there's a market for these certain studs or these wheel spacers. We can make those. Are aluminum parts. We can make those, and that's in BullyWerx.
EV educational tools,
EV cars for education. So there's an organization in the UK that has a great program for teaching kids manufacturing, assembling, and troubleshooting. You buy this kit and you bolt it together, and it's like a derby car at Boy Scouts, except it's like 8 feet long and it's got 2 batteries in it and a motor. And it'll go 23 or 24 miles an hour. These kit cars come from the UK at $5,600 a piece. And when you look at it, you said, that's the same amount of parts that are in $200-$300 bicycles. Why is it $5,600? And because of that, the school systems can't buy as many cars. And this program has taken off. The first year they had 10 kids, 2 cars. The second year they had 40 kids and 4 cars. Year 3, they still had 4 cars, and they had 90 kids sign up for the program. And my kid was one of them. I said, I'll just buy you a car.
Well, every kid wants to be a part of that program.
Absolutely. So, but they can't buy any more cars. So I said, I'll help you out. Give me one of your cars. I'll redesign it. We redesigned it. We redesigned every part. We had them offshored so they'd be affordable. We bring them back in here, and now we're donating them or selling them to the schools for less than half of what they were paying originally. It's the same exact car.
Can public buy them?
Absolutely. Anybody can buy them.
So I was thinking when you were saying that, like, damn, they go to schools. Like, how do I get my kid a couple? I'd love to are they easy to assemble?
If 12 and 13-year-olds can do it, then 12 and 13-year-olds across the country can do it.
So I give you half and you ship it out, and then I just have a weekend project with my little kids, and they have now a little go-kart to run around in.
Yeah.
Are they cool looking?
They are. They look exactly like, remember the soapbox cars from Boy Scouts?
Pinewood Derby.
Pinewood Derby. They look exactly like that, except it's a steel frame, 2 batteries in the back, and a 24-volt motor, and a steering wheel, a horn, an ignition. The ignition just turns the system on. But yeah, they look pretty cool. Little 13 or 14-inch bicycle tires. Got brakes, and yeah, they're great. Kids absolutely love driving these things. And then they break down. The chain comes off or a wire comes loose. And then they got to troubleshoot it themselves to fix it so they can get back on the track. It teaches them working with your hands and manufacturing and assembly and troubleshooting, which in today's school, they don't do a whole lot of that.
Well, they're going to need to, because with AI coming in, they're going to take out a lot of jobs that was requiring knowledge and thought, and they're going to need to get back to their hands.
Well, in order to program a robot to do something like in a car factory, you need to know how it goes together. You need to know how it assembles and how it moves down the assembly line. That's why, AI is going to take some jobs, but there's people that are going to have to program using AI to understand how to do these things. So you need a general understanding of what you're doing before you can have some computer or robot do it.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 companies. What's your goal? What's your end game? You say billionaire. Your goal is to be a billionaire. How close are you?
Probably. Depends on what my companies are worth today. I'm probably, I don't want to, I don't want to throw a number out there. I would say I'm somewhere between a 10th and a quarter of the way there.
So what is your plan for the next 5 years?
I am going to focus really hard on my core group of companies that I have right now assembled. That's really all I can handle at this moment. I've got one of everything under the umbrella. Just work really hard at making every one of those efficient and profitable and employing more people, hiring more misfits to come work for me.
If people are listening and they want to come work for you, where do they apply?
www.chpws.com. It comes right to my significant other, and she evaluates a resume against our needs, and we find a home for you.
Do you need people?
We always need people. Always. We strive to be about 20% overstaffed at all times, so that one of the lessons in life, man, if you get some MBA who comes to run your company, they're going to buy materials just as they need them, which we learned in COVID that didn't work out very well. They're going to hire the exact type person that they need. This MBA guy comes in and brings in this high-priced HR talent, and they start screening resumes like, no 4-year education. No, it doesn't have 3 years of experience. Those people are actually really, really good if you give them a chance. You got to dig deeper. This is why I don't let safety or HR run my company. We need them. They're required, but they don't get as big a vote as they might in some Fortune 500 company because they let too much talent go by the wayside and not evaluate them. I like to tell people that I have built this empire with my team, which is a band of misfits. We have people that not many people would hire. We've got a couple kids that have some disabilities. We have one kid who's legally blind. He got fired from McDonald's for not being able to read the chart on how to put a burger together. We've got a deaf kid that works for us now that nobody would hire. He went unemployed for 6 months. He's a perfect employee. Nobody would hire him because he's deaf. We've got a
What's
kid
that?
Nobody would hire him because he was deaf. They thought it would be a safety hazard.
What'd you say?
He's deaf, like you.
I'm joking.
Yeah. We got a kid that's
See,
on the
now I'm gonna
spectrum.
get hate making fun of deaf people. Guys, lighten up in the world. Okay, it's called have fun, relax. That's good, dude. Giving people opportunity. That's what I'm about. So Bomb Squad, listen. If you need an opportunity, reach out. If not, follow the guy. If you guys are into guns, I'll bet you that's the best damn gun site place you can go as far as quality. How do people support you?
Well, supporting me is supporting one of my brands. And at the end of the day, whether you buy my brand or not, maybe you have an allegiance to Red Dots and you're a Trijicon fan. I don't care. You're probably going to end up buying one of my plates. I would say I'm putting myself out there. I am the CEO of this corporation. I answer phones, I answer emails, I answer the 1-star reviews. That's my responsibility. I am the guy leading this. I'm not some fake suit. I mean, look at the way I'm dressed. This is the way I dress every day. I am a real guy running a real company. I'm not some bougie dude, getting driven to work. I'm in the trenches every day. And I believe that if more people knew my story, they would support our company because I am who I am. I'm a down-to-earth country guy. I've built my entire empire myself. I give people opportunities. I make them feel welcome and valuable in their job. We create products that solve problems. We're not perfect. And I'm not afraid to admit that we screwed something up. We wouldn't be to where we are now without having screwed up some things in the past and making us refine our system. So at the end of the day, if you want to support me, get involved with your family and your community. That's the number one thing. We need more business leaders that I think are more like me. We need more politicians. This is why I'm going to run for another elected office, because we suffer from this issue that we don't have the best people qualified for the job in DC. We don't have them in Atlanta, where I live. We don't even have them on our county or city government. We don't have the best people. We voted for the person that we thought was the best out of the slate that we were offered. But when I ran for election last time, I told people all the time on the campaign trail, there's 20 guys and gals in this community that are better suited to do this job. But you know what? They will not get in the ring. And I am not afraid to get in the ring, any ring. I like to do hard shit, and I'm going to continue to do so. So buy products from C&H Precision. Contact me about making some products for you with BullyWerx. Ruck Pack's going to be out soon. AIM is on its way to being a powerhouse. So any of those brands in that portfolio, maybe you want to read my book that'll be out here in the next couple months, and that will inspire you to do more hard stuff and be a better human and a business leader.
You going to be putting out audio?
I probably will. I think that I've been convinced that I'm going to read it myself, because nobody can convey the passion in those written words like I can, because I wrote them. And you can probably tell I'm a little bit of an animated personality. So I think people would get a kick out of hearing me read the book.
Yeah. I highly recommend you do, only because you wrote it. And, when I came out with my book, I did pretty well only because I have a following. I didn't launch it or, get everyone to pitch it. And I didn't do like what they call a book launch. I just finished it and said, hey, it's available. But when I came out on audio, boom, way more and really? Way more people got help. Yeah, because dude, some people, they don't want to read and they don't want to wait for a book, but if they can press their little iPhone and boom, next thing you know, they're listening to your book, they'll do it. So sometimes the easy way is what they're after, most people. Okay. The hard way is to order it and wait for it and then get it and then read it. So I suggest, even though you do hard shit, sometimes make it easy. I always tell people, listen, you want to succeed in business? Here's what I've learned. Make it easy for people. If you want someone to do something, like do business with you, make it easy. Don't make it difficult. Don't get a website called, some hard ass URL to type in. Like, make it easy. One time I had a guy here trying to get a light speed system for training, and he closed easy. I mean, he knew what he wanted. He knows me. Like, dude, I'm here. I want it. Here's a credit card. It's $50,000 deal I'm trying to run on this credit card. I ran around here for 4 hours trying to find someone who could process this freaking credit card. It was unbelievable. Next day I came in, called an all company meeting. And I said, guys, from now on, I want anybody here to be able to freaking text or email an invoice that's payable online, to where anybody here, the receptionist can send you an invoice right now from Lightspeed. Everybody in this company should be able to send an invoice, a payable invoice, through text or email, or take a credit card in this facility. And boom, programmers got together and did what they got to do. And now literally I could tell someone that's running this show, hey, send him an invoice for $80 and you'll get an invoice in like 10 seconds for $80. And process your credit card.
You know, you bring up something, and we're probably running long on time, but you know, that's one of my missions in the firearms industry now. It's very easy for you to go buy a pistol. You go to a gun store here in Vegas, and they got every pistol ever known to man. You buy a pistol. And then you go over to the counter that's got all the red dots. They got the Trigicons, the Holosons, the aim points, the Acros, whatever. And it's very easy to buy one of those. But putting them together, that's what I do. And it is the most difficult thing on earth for people to, I got this optic and I got this pistol. How do I get them together? I got to go to chpws.com and buy a plate. You got to select what pistol and what optic you got. We spent $200,000 on our website to make it so easy for them to pick the pistol that they got and the optic. And it only gives you, when you pick those two things, it'll give you one or two choices, because there's always one or two choices for that pistol model. And still people get it wrong and they're mad at me, and I'll take it. I'm sorry. We'll ship you a label, get it back, and we'll get you the right one. That's okay. And what I am on a mission to do is I'm talking to every major pistol manufacturer right now, and some of them have already taken me up on this. We are making optics that mount directly to the pistol without a plate. I'm literally trying to put myself out of business in the plate industry, because I'd rather sell you an optic that just bolts right on there with 2 screws and you're done. And it's so foreign to the pistol companies. They're like, well, we don't make optics. Well, then sell the whole pistol. All they got to do is buy the pistol and put ammo and go. That's so easy. And the reason that they're not super receptive to it is because change is hard in the gun industry. And 2, the guys that work at XYZ gun company don't have to go to Bass Pro Shop to buy a pistol and buy an optic and figure out. They work at a gun company. They got an intern who will put it all together for them and give it to them. Here you go. And that is my mission in life right now, is to collaborate with all the OEMs and design an optic that fits on their Glock, on their Walther, on their HK, that doesn't require a mounting plate, and convince them. How about this? If you were a gun company, you sell an $800 gun, there's probably $100, $150 worth of profit margin in that for the gun company. If they buy an optic directly from me that fits on there, that doesn't need a plate, and they buy a shipment of them and they start putting them together, they might buy it from me for $150 or $175, but they get to charge an extra $125 or $150 just by putting the two together and selling them together. They increase their profit margin by 100%. They go from making $150 on a pistol to making $300 profit on the whole pistol.
Which I don't know anybody who wouldn't want a red dot.
I don't either.
Why wouldn't you? Even if you had great eyesight, who cares, dude? Red dot's easy.
It's so
Hold
easy.
it up. Boom. I know exactly where that bullet's going.
It's so easy.
Well, dude, we're going to keep an eye on you. Bomb Squad, listen up. You guys can follow this guy, obviously, at Buck Holly, his company, at CHP. I got to put on my damn readers. So this one's a hard one. C&H Precision Weapons. Oh, that's pretty easy. Now that I can read.
Yeah, it's at CHPWS.
Yes, C&H Precision Weapons on Instagram, or chpws.com. You can Google him. He's on social media. You can follow him. He's putting out content, and his book's coming out here shortly. You can probably look at it by the time this drops, and just go to Amazon.
It'll be on Amazon.
Experience is expensive. Appreciate you coming in, my brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you opening up your studio for me. This is a fantastic environment, and I'm going to go home and replicate something like this.
Well, dude, a lot of people have, and they do better. And then they send me pictures, and I'm like, damn, dude, I got to rethink this thing. I got to level up.
You're old school.
Hey, but listen, what was I going to say? To the Bomb Squad. So, you know, if you are a gun manufacturer, or you know someone in the gun manufacturing space, hook this guy up, like forward this out, go hit subscribe, help me out, but like connect this dude to the people that you got connections with. You know, support people that are out there trying to support you is all I got to say. Till next time, keep it real.